Terry, no. Let's just go spy.
Since the brilliant mind of Justin Roiland is involved in both projects, it's not surprising that there are some Rick and Morty references sprinkled throughout Solar Opposites.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
But the number of other blink and you'll miss it references, Easter eggs, and hidden jokes is surprisingly high. We'll point out all the influences from Rick Sanchez, as well as some surprising connections you may have missed on your first binging session.
Remember, I tried to explain that to you the minute I chose to be a man and became better at explaining things.
Squanchy from Rick and Morty is, well, to be honest, I'm not really sure what he is, but he's quite the character. He's introduced as an old friend of Rick's, who throws around the word Squanchy like the Smurfs use the word Smurf. Some fans think we saw a direct reference to Squanchy in the very first episode of Solar Opposites, and they may be right. First of all, it's not hard to see that Funbucket looks kind of like a cleaned up version of Squanchy, and they even have similar color schemes. In the same episode where we were introduced to Funbucket, we also spotted an interesting poster outside the door to the principal's office, which uses the word Schwifty.
I like what you got.
While it's only a real word in the world of Rick and Morty, and apparently in Solar Opposites too, some fans think Funbucket and the Schwifty poster are signs of a crossover, but it seems like they're just fun Easter eggs for fans of both franchises to enjoy. It's not surprising to see Justin Roiland reference his other works in Solar Opposites, but this next connection was definitely more unexpected. During the finale, Terry and Korvo enter into some wacky time travel shenanigans and end up remembering some of the good times they've shared together. Terry recalls a time when he and Korvo played basketball against the Monstars from the hit Michael Jordan vehicle Space Jam. According to Terry, their teammates were none other than famous fictional family The Simpsons. Now that's a Space Jam sequel we definitely want to see. Who doesn't want Bart Simpson inviting the Monstars to eat his shorts? We all know Justin Roiland loves working on animated series, but did you know he's a video game fan as well? During the third episode of Solar Opposites, we saw a reference to a video game that he must be particularly fond of. In the background, you can see a poster for something called Trover Saves the Universe, and if you haven't heard of it yet, you probably should. It's a creation from the mind of Justin Roiland, so it's pretty much exactly as strange as you might expect. Players try to rescue their dogs from a lunatic named Glorcon, who wants to use them to destroy the universe. Dogs have been man's best friend for centuries, so frankly it's about time we repaid the favor by not letting them get kidnapped by aliens. I wouldn't exactly describe Rick Sanchez as the emotional type, but he's been shown to care about his grandkids, Summer and Morty Smith, every once in a while, or at the very least, he's been able to prevent them from perishing horribly on his adventures, which is still pretty impressive. During the Solar Opposites episode, The Patricia Device, Terry and Korvo try to make their own version of a traditional man cave, or a man-av as they call it. At one point in the episode, you can see what looks to be a picture of Summer, and in the third episode, The Quantum Ring, you can see what looks to be a photo of Morty, as well as one that looks suspiciously like Justin Roiland himself. There are a lot of things to like about Solar Opposites, but for me, the best part of the show is actually a subplot involving something called The Wall. It's a setup where Yum-Yalak deposits humans who were unfortunate enough to be shrunk by him because of their rudeness, or just because they happen to be wearing a certain colored shirt. Anyway, new arrivals to The Wall are forced to adapt quickly and describe the larger times in their lives as the before Fore. This is a phrase which may seem familiar to Rick and Morty fans, because it was used in the episode Rick Mancing the Stone.
Did the boomy booms blow up all your wordy word books?
Reddit user KPH Whale pointed out that the inhabitants of the post-apocalyptic dimensions also refer to the more civilized past as the before Fore.
Clinging to the lie of the before Fore time.
Not only is the Wall storyline one of the highlights of Solar Opposites, but it's also home to a ton of interesting references and a lot of tiny people all hopped up on candy and vengeance. In episode 7, Terry and Korvo steal a bear. We learn that Tim is still very much alive after his encounter with the Duke and is imprisoned in cell number 101. Reddit user It's Puya D theorizes that this is a reference to the Matrix, since that's the number of the apartment Neo is in when he kicks off his journey to becoming the One. And since Tim goes on to conquer the Wall, it's kind of fitting if this is true. One of the great things about Solar Opposites is the attention to detail, even in a world as tiny as that contained within the Wall. In the first episode of the show, Yum-Yalak and Jessie shrink down one of their classmates to stop her from bullying them, but then they aren't sure what to do with her. So naturally, they cut her open and poured Diet Coke on her brain, which obviously didn't make her any smarter. Although they upsized her again, the school janitor called them out.
Did you guys shrink this girl down and then lobotomize her to cover your tracks?
So they shrank him and stuck him in the Wall. Later, when we see Tim join the wall, he's helped by a mysterious cloaked man you might recognize as the janitor. He looks different when he's not holding a mop, but Reddit user SavageX1361 managed to make the connection. While Korvo wants to get off planet Earth as fast as possible, Terry is more enthusiastic about all there is to experience here. I mean, they really should be working to escape before the pupa grows up and destroys everything, but I'm sure they have plenty of time.
Any second now.
In the first episode, one of Funbucket's new friends accuses Korvo of wearing wizard robes, and later Terry exclaims that he wants to watch all of the Harry Potter movies back to back. Although we didn't get to see him enjoying his non-stop Harry Potter marathon, in the very next episode we see him wearing a shirt that says Butterbeer Inspector, which is obviously a reference to a particular wizarding beverage that frankly sounds kind of gross. During the finale, the pupa goes to great lengths to access a Harry Potter whistle, so clearly Terry isn't the only one in the family who's a fan of the franchise. When Terry and Korvo visit their neighbor, they ignore his terribly unhealthy relationship with his wife and instead focus on his stereotypical man cave. When they decide to create their own Mancave, they decorate it in a similar style, or at least as close as they can get. I can't be the only one who really wants to get an Entourage pinball machine now, but at one point, you can see a pennant on the wall behind them that simply says, "Your custom text here," instead of, actually having custom text. It's safe to say you've probably heard about a little franchise called Star Wars at some point in your life, which is good, because there are multiple references to it in Solar Opposites. Plus, it's pretty amazing on its own. Yumulak and Jesse are seen attending James Earl Jones High School, and most of us know that James Earl Jones provided the voice for Darth Vader.
And he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
When Terry and Korvo want to go to the mall to meet Funbucket, we see that the mall is called Gretchen Darth Mall, which is clearly a pun on the Sith Darth Maul from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In Episode 3, Terry wears a shirt that says Admiral Akbar's famous catchphrase, "It's a trap," in Leetspeak. The name Solar Opposites is obviously a pun based on the phrase polar opposites, but there's another joke based on the title that's a little trickier to spot. Reddit user He's Covered in Butter's girlfriend pointed out that the house Molly lives in is partially constructed with popsicle sticks with jokes on them. On one of them, we can see a joke, "Why will Mercury and Pluto's relationship never last?" The answer's in the title of the show, because they're solar opposites. There are plenty of visual gags on the show, but you'll have to listen carefully to hear this next hidden reference. In the episode, Korvo and Terry have a blast hanging out with Funbucket. Redditor De La Ruta noticed that the music playing sounds an awful lot like the theme song from the sitcom Alf.
Bango, bango!
This show is also about an alien that comes to Earth, and Alf is mentioned in another episode when Ruth speaks out against Korvo, Terry, and their sentient being made out of nanobots. When they start spilling secrets, Ruth calls them stupid, ugly, and Alf-looking, along with a much more colorful term. Things tend to get messy when time travel is involved, and that isn't just the case on Solar Opposites. Even though Smart Hulk tried to explain what the Back to the Future franchise got wrong about time travel, most of us still associate those movies with the ability to go back to the past, or the future.
I don't know why everyone believes that, but that isn't true.
The season finale of Solar Opposites has Terry and Korvo messing with time, while Yumulak meets a version of himself that actually likes spending time with Jesse. Redditor Higher Daddy Higher pointed out that the fake Yumulak is holding a cowboy outfit that looks just like the one Marty McFly wore in Back to the Future 3. So we've talked about the famous extraterrestrial Alf, and pointed out that Funbucket looks like a weird version of Squanchy from Rick and Morty. Now, are you ready for something truly horrifying? Because I'm almost certain that Funbucket is supposed to be a reference to Fuzzbucket, a movie about an invisible creature that looks like something straight out of a fever dream. Definitely not one of Disney's biggest hits, to say the least. While Korvo worries about how to get off the planet Earth, Yumulak and Jesse spend a lot of time trying to avoid getting in trouble at school. And in the principal's defense, they are not exactly model students. At one point, they get in trouble for breaking into the computer lab and reprogramming iPads with artificial intelligence.
I used to be a cop. My name is Richard Michael.
Richard Michaels is a producer and director responsible for popular sitcoms like The Brady Bunch and Bewitched. Kind of a strange choice to name an iPad AI after, but it does fit in with the theme of parodying classic sitcoms with supernatural elements, in the case of Bewitched. What do you think about these solar opposite hidden references? And do you think that this show and Rick and Morty share a universe, or is there no crossover potential here? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below, and make sure to click subscribe and turn your notifications on for more new videos from us here at Screen Rant. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.